This is Bob Hamley. You're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
On Schreiber.
Sidearm whip, scores!
Now it's point. Fidel scores! Hands off for Rabel, switches hands and scores!
Carly O'Miller showing off those shifty skills.
Right off the bat, there's Lyle Thompson.
Bob Hamley inside to the back of the net.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Pro Lacrosse Talk Podcast, the voice of Pro Lacrosse. I'm Hutton, he's Adam, and together we're bringing you interviews from all your favorite players and coaches, as well as news and analysis from all 4 professional lacrosse leagues. Welcome to another episode of the Pro Lacrosse Talk Podcast. Today we are joined by Bob Hamley, 2-time NLL champion and general manager of the newest NLL team, the Panther City Lacrosse Club. Bob, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And, you're a native of Ontario. We're going to get into the Panther City news a little bit, but we want to start off, too, with your playing career. When did you first pick up a stick, and who introduced you to the game?
Funny story. Was born in Owen Sound, Ontario, a pretty good hub for lacrosse back in the day, and still is. And actually, my mom read it to my dad in the newspaper that lacrosse registration was opening up. And so they signed me up. I was 4 years old when I started playing lacrosse. I had some uncles that played, and so actually it was my mom. And my dad was a big time hockey player in town, and I played hockey as well, in Sound.
Fantastic. And obviously it stuck, right? You played professionally for a number of years with the Bandits, including winning back-to-back championships in the early 90s, 92, 93. What was it like winning those championships as a professional?
Well, it was, and thanks for bringing it up because it brings back some great memories. We played in the old auditorium, and the city of Buffalo took to the game pretty quickly. We were playing in front of 16,325 regularly in the odd. So I always said it, every lacrosse player person should experience that. It was just an incredible experience. Normally most of us played in front of our friends and family in a local arena or throughout Ontario. So to have that experience was fantastic. And then to win 2 championships was fantastic. You look at those teams in Buffalo in 92 and 93, they're just loaded with talent and great goaltending, great coaching, Les Bartley, Buff McCready, John Meridian. It was a great time to be a lacrosse player. I was very fortunate. I was probably middle to late in my career, so I felt very fortunate to be part of those teams.
No, that's great. And your lacrosse career obviously didn't end there. When you hung up the gear, what kind of got you interested in getting behind the bench and also in the front office?
Well, the game gets in your blood, as you guys know, and it's just such a fantastic game. And when I finished playing, I wanted to stay involved. So I did some coaching in the junior ranks up in Ontario with Kitchener and Guelph. And eventually, lucky enough that Bob McMahon brought me into Albany in the early 2000s, and we had some success there, and then moved on into Columbus. But it was always, part of me to stay involved in the game and whatever I could. And luckily for me, I got a chance to coach at the highest level, and the rest kind of fell into my into place from there. So
Sure, yeah. And you mentioned your time in Columbus. You're obviously no stranger to spearheading a team in a new city, right? Albeit not an expansion franchise, right? You were there when the Landsharks moved to Arizona to become the Sting, right? So talk about that experience a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The Columbus one was really interesting because Montreal came in at the same time, and it was an interesting year in Columbus. We every weekend we were on a bus. We were on a bus, whether we were playing in Columbus or Albany or we got to jet away to Calgary, I think, once in that schedule. It was a great year. It was a young Dan Dawson, a young Peter Locke, some great Ryan Cousins, some great personalities. We had a lot of fun that year on the bus. You had to. And then we got the chance to move to Arizona, and that was, again, challenging because we were in a year that the CBA needed to get renewed, and it was a new team, new arena. We were the first event in the Glendale Arena in Arizona, December 26, 2013. So getting ready for that was what a great experience. It was hard work, but we literally had to get a CBA done, get guys booked on flights, get them contracts. I can remember some phone calls, guys weren't going to sign for the money that I was offering them. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm on to the next guy because I got to leave in 2 or 3 days. You're either on the plane or you're not. So a lot of interesting stories, but Arizona was a great experience. Working for the Coyotes, got to meet Wayne Gretzky numerous times. Our guys did, and we had some success there. But building a team is a lot of hard work, a little bit of luck, and we had a little bit of both in Arizona.
No, that's great. And we're going to talk a little bit about, building now this Panther City Lacrosse Club. But before that, too, I know you're now the head director, national director of box lacrosse with 3D lacrosse, as well as the Texas director. Talk to me about that current position and, kind of growing the game of box lacrosse from the grassroots in the States.
Yeah, no, great question. And I've been very fortunate, again, to stay in lacrosse, and 3D lacrosse gave me that platform. Great company, great people, have helped a lot of kids throughout the nation with their lacrosse, getting them to schools that maybe they normally wouldn't have got to without their lacrosse. And 3D is a great training ground for our kids. And so it allowed me again to stay in the game. To be a full-time lacrosse guy is very rewarding, and it's making an impact on kids, giving them the chance, showing them the game of box lacrosse. So 3D in our methodology, we do a lot of training in the box. It's small-sided play, lots of reps, understanding how to play fast and understanding how to play in confined areas. And that's what our training has done at 3D Lacrosse, and very fortunate to be a part of them. And the game is growing here in Texas, throughout the state. You look at the Houstons, Austin, and obviously Dallas, Fort Worth here. A lot of kids are picking up sticks and playing the game, and why not? It's such a great game, and it allows kids to flourish with it.
Great, yeah, and with your ties to Texas, it really made you a perfect fit for this Panther City GM position. Let's talk kind of a little bit about the interview process and what really is getting you kind of excited in this position. Obviously, tons to be excited about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've always kept my name out there within the NLL circles. I have a lot of great friends that are GMs of other teams and coaches, and always kept in touch. And Mr. Bibb fortunately gave me a call. We talked a few times, and with COVID hitting and everything, we weren't sure that we were even going to get going. And he stayed with it, and his credit to Mr. Cameron and Mr. Bibb stayed with it, and here we are today. But went through the process, and I know, knowing Greg now, he's very thorough. He does a great job of doing his due diligence, and fortunately for me, he came to me in August and asked if I would be his general manager, and I couldn't be happier. I'm thrilled to have that clean slate, a blank slate, if you will, to build a winning franchise for him in a great city with a great state behind us.
No, that's great. And, what about Greg Bibb and this organization's vision too have really made you excited about, the future of this franchise and, the future of the NLL too in general?
Absolutely. That's what's great about my time now here in the NLL versus maybe even back when I first started. The ownership groups that we have now in the National Lacrosse League are really second to none. Some great people that want to grow the game, and Greg's no different. He wants to grow the game. He believes in the product. He comes from a sports background, which is huge for the National Lacrosse League. He understands how to sell tickets. He understands how to run a sports organization. And he already has a great group selling tickets, sponsorship, marketing with the Dallas Wings of the WNBA. So they understand the sports landscape. They understand the state. They understand the dynamics in Fort Worth. And the NLL is lucky to have them, and I'm very fortunate to be part of a great organization that's going to take the game to the next level here.
Yeah, we're really excited to see the league grow and also this new franchise. So speaking of growing, obviously one part of that is hiring some coaches, right? So when can we expect an announcement on a coaching staff?
Yeah, I think we're getting really close. I think our plan is probably in the new year to announce our head coach. We're getting very close. I would love to say we have it, but we're going to wait until the new year. And the one thing moving forward, we have a year before we start playing, so we can take our time. And as I said, Greg does his due diligence. It's very thorough, and he's asked me to be the same way in this respect. So we're going to be thorough and get the right man.
We're excited when that announcement does come. And we have a few fan questions too that we want to kind of ask a little bit too. One of them that we have from Playing From Behind on Twitter wants to know, what have you learned from the expansion draft strategies of other teams like San Diego, Philadelphia, New York, Rochester? And will you be kind of open to making some side deals when it comes to protected players when this expansion draft does happen?
Great question. Actually, in the expansion drafts, you don't really learn anything from the teams picking, but you do learn a little bit about what teams are going to protect. For example, the Georgia Swarm, I believe, in the last expansion, didn't protect any goalies. They went with 11 runners. So they left all their goalies exposed. Now, Mike Coolin was an unrestricted free agent, so it wouldn't be worth an expansion team's a pick to pick him because he could go anywhere. But so I think you learn more about what teams will protect and how they look at the expansion draft versus the philosophies of the teams in the expansion. The one thing that's going to be different for us, of course, is we're going to be the only team. The last two expansions have had two teams picking, so we're fortunate there. We won't have to compete against anybody for players. We'll be picking one from each team. As far as side deals, that really won't be up to us. That'll be the motivation of the other teams. We're going to pick the best player available that we see that's available, and then we won't know that until after the NLL season's done, hopefully next September. And we'll have to be prepared, and in my mind, I've already started preparing for those drafts. But really, it's going to be up to what's protected, what's available, and what the motivation is of the teams that maybe want to get a player back.
Sure. And kind of when you do formulate that team, we had another fan question. John Erickson wants to know, what type of lacrosse team are you looking to create with Panther City?
Yeah, another great question. Yeah, the game of box lacrosse, as you guys know, and our fans know, it's about speed, it's about grit and toughness, and we want to be disciplined too. The one thing I would actually add to that is, and I touched on it at our reveal, community is very important to me, very important to our ownership group. Not only just building the game of box lacrosse within the community, but also being a part of the community and charities, our youth. It's very important to me and our franchise that we find guys that want to embrace the community, be a part of it, not just fly in and fly out. We want to be supporting our great city of Fort Worth, and that'll be important to us when we're looking at the draft as well.
No, that's great. And then our final fan question is from Dawson Bosco. He wants to know, what team do you see becoming maybe Panther City's biggest rival? Again, that's kind of hard to predict right now, but any teams based on maybe some of your past relationships that you're looking forward to building some rivalries with?
No, it's a good one. I think geography, a lot of times, you look at the Buffalo, Toronto, Buffalo, Rochester, Calgary, Saskatchewan. So I think Colorado, San Diego, and I guess you can maybe even throw Georgia in there, being down in the south. So I think those four teams naturally, just because of geography, will I think become rivals with kind of Colorado being the closest, and probably will become a rival being in the West.
Yeah, and a team that you once coached for and were GM for, so you got a little bit of that connection as well. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Pro Lacrosse Talk Podcast. Today I want to talk to you about our sponsor, Anchor. We've been using Anchor for the Pro Lacrosse Talk Podcast since the very start. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, and better yet, it's free. They allow you to easily record and edit your podcast, and once it's published, they send it out to all the major networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. They also connect you with advertisers so you can start making money from your podcast right away. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast today, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Today I also want to talk to you about our affiliate Smart Backstop. Smart Backstop is different from traditional backstops in that it actually attaches to your net, preventing any missed shots up to 4 feet high and wide of the net. It can also be easily folded down behind the net for easy storage. Plus, this thing is built to last and is used by some of the top college teams. I'm someone who spent countless hours chasing missed shots in my backyard as a kid, and I wish I had this on my net. It would have saved me a lot of time and money on lost lacrosse balls. The best thing is right now Smart Backstop is giving listeners $20 off their purchase and free shipping. Just use the code PLT at checkout, place your order, and then get practicing. Now we're going to go into our 5 and 5. Did you have any pregame superstitions or routines when you played?
I always like to be early. I can remember playing in Buffalo and being out on the floor and there was nobody in the building, just some ticket people or the concessions starting open. I like to be early. I was always wanted to be mentally prepared, and I felt if I was at the arena by myself or with other players, then I was getting ready for the game. But other than that, no real superstitions.
Awesome. And then number 2, what was your favorite venue to play or coach at during your career?
Playing, obviously, it was the auditorium. It was fantastic. The old Spectrum, we won our first championship in '92, was a great place to play. And then I got to play in the Boston Gardens. So those 3 right there stand out. And then as a coach, coaching against the Mammoth when I was in Arizona, Colorado was always an exciting place to be the visitor in. And then I got to coach there as the home team coach. So a great venue for the NLL as well.
Awesome. Yeah, no, the Loud House is always one that gets brought up a lot by a lot of people.
Yes.
Number 3, what was your favorite team to coach or manage and why?
Well, Arizona, that's really where I cut my teeth as a head coach, general manager. And I was very fortunate. The Coyotes let me do my thing with the team, and we had a great staff, Bob McMahon and Rick Wilson, and we were able to build a winner, and which always adds to the flavor. Of course, you want to win, but Arizona was my dream job, and right now I'm getting to do it again here in Fort Worth, so I'm really excited about Panther City Lacrosse Club.
Awesome. And then number 4, favorite lacrosse memory during your playing or coaching days?
I would think, the first championship in the National Lacrosse League in the Spectrum, Johnny Tavares scoring in overtime was pretty special. But then we went back home the next year and won in front of our home crowd, and that was, for lack of a better term, bananas. It was crazy. So that one stands out. 93 stands out for me with the Bandits at home in the odd, beating the Wings late.
Awesome. And then my final one for the lacrosse related questions is who's someone in the lacrosse space that you've kind of leaned on as a mentor?
I'd have to say Bob McMahon. Bob and I spent a lot of time together as a coach and a player. He coached me with the Excelsiors in Brampton, learned a lot about him and had a lot of respect for him. And then he brought me into Albany when, probably there was a lot of other guys that he could have brought with more experience and maybe even a better coach at that time. And he gave me a chance, and then we got to work together in Arizona and Colorado. But our success in Arizona was so much fun with him because he kept me grounded, and he just a great mentor. So I'd say Bob McMahon.
Awesome.
All right. So the non-lacrosse related questions. What are some hobbies? I know this is taking up most of your time now and you're so involved with the game, but what are some hobbies or activities you enjoy partaking in when it's not lacrosse?
Well, my wife would say it's your hobby is lacrosse. So, that's a tough one. Keeping track of my kids. My daughter's in Denver, my son's back in Ontario, Canada. He's a city councillor at my hometown of Owen Sound, Ontario. So keeping track of him and watching them go about their lives is something that's very rewarding for me. And my wife and I have a Pembroke Welsh Corgi dog that we spent a lot of time with. And so I'd have to say those two things.
There we go. Awesome. This is athletics related, but not lacrosse. Favorite non-lacrosse sport or athlete to watch? You mentioned the great one, so I'm assuming hockey might be one of them.
Yeah, no, hockey definitely is played it, and I don't follow it as much as I used to, of course, but and then the recent documentary of the Chicago Bulls, I was a big Michael Jordan fan, and to watch that brought back a lot of great memories of following the Chicago Bulls and basketball as well.
Number 3, favorite spot to vacation?
You know what? We just before COVID got to go to Bequia. It's in the Eastern Caribbean. Never been before. We have some family that vacation there every year. We went down in February of 2019 and fell in love with it. Hoping to get back soon someday.
Awesome. Number 4, favorite meal, and do you prefer to take out or cook at home?
Well, chicken parm is my favorite meal, and I like it so much. I either have it takeout or at home, but enjoy the chicken parm.
All right, awesome. And the last non-lacrosse related question, with quarantine, we've been listening to a lot of podcasts, watching TV, reading books. We're curious if you have any recommendations on any books, podcasts, TV shows you'd recommend.
Oh, great. I just started getting back into reading, and I read Brian Burke's book, and I really enjoyed it. Brian Burke was a general manager in the National Hockey League. Did the Maple Leafs and the Vancouver Canucks. He's the one that drafted the Sedin twins into Vancouver. Yeah. It was really interesting reading how he got picks 2 and 3 in that draft to get both the twins. Great book. Brian Burke's book is a good read.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember I was younger at the time, but just him stockpiling picks to trade picks to make those 2 deals were pretty impressive. So yeah, I'll have to.
Sure was.
Yeah. What a maneuver too, because I know I'm pretty sure the Twins didn't want to play separate. So it was like how do you like swing that? Because it's easy for somebody to still draft one and use them as trade bait or whatever. So yeah, pretty impressive what he did with that. Our final question is again lacrosse related, but we like to end on this one. Is what is some advice that you have for a young player looking to one day play lacrosse professionally or even become a coach or GM professionally?
Well, when I was a kid, I always refer back to when I was a kid. There are a lot of kids didn't play lacrosse, so I had to figure out pretty quickly that if I'm going to become better, I got to do this on my own. So, you always hear the 10,000 hours. And you do anything for 10,000 hours, you become an expert. And I spent a lot of time on the wall, and so I would tell kids these days, if you really truly want to become great, become better, fulfill your dreams in the game, you got to put the work in. That lacrosse stick, if you look at the greats, there really is an extension of their arms. You look at John Grant Jr. and John Tavares, Casey Powell. List goes on. Those guys put the work in to the point where the stick in their hand is just absolutely natural. There's no, it's part of their DNA and part of their body, and they just put the work in. And I can remember John Grant Jr. I played for his dad one summer, and I can remember after the game, while we were in, having a beer after the game, you go out to the rink, and there was Junior at 12 years old doing tricks with his stick. He was he had that stick in his hand all the time. So if you're truly willing to do it, my advice would be put the work in, find a wall, get after it. And in this day and age, you can watch video of a lot of great players too, which I would encourage.
No, that's awesome. No, we appreciate that advice. Bob, thank you again for coming on. We're looking forward to seeing Panther City take the floor in 2021-2022 season, and best of luck building this club.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it, and best of luck to you guys as well. Keep up the good work.
Today I also want to talk to you about our affiliate, Players Academy. Are you looking to improve your lacrosse game from home? Players Academy, started in part by multiple Hall of Fame lacrosse players including Jay Jalbert, currently offers premier lacrosse online video instructional training courses from two of the top players in the world today, Atlas attackman Rob Pennell and Archers midfielder Tom Schreiber. You can learn how to run the two-man game, perform Rob Pennell's signature question mark dodge, attack from X, work the island, and more in these fun-to-watch lacrosse courses. We've also teamed up with Players Academy to offer a special $25 off your Players Academy course of choice. Simply use the code PLT at checkout and start learning from the best in the game today.